What up, though? Welcome. Welcome to another edition of Poetry and Conversations. Well, I am your host, your MC, your master of ceremony, rap talk. I want to thank you for tuning in. First, as always, be sure to wipe your feet off at the door, which is hit that like button right now to help that algorithm push this video out even more. Subscribe to the channel if you ain't already subscribed. And that's if you come here for motivation and spoken word and poetry. And in this video, I'm going to talk about Ja Morant and Ja Rule, which Ja Rule says hip hop has influenced his decisions. Well, actually, Patrick Beverly said it, but Ja Rule just agreed with what Patrick Beverly said when asked by TMZ. We're going to get into that. I just want everybody to come on in and just gather around, get your popcorn. Of course, I'm going to throw a couple poems in. We just going to bring it all full circle. Just try to, I ain't going to say get to the bottom of this, but spread a little bit of awareness as far as why the situation maybe took place, and if or if not, hip hop does and do play a factor in the Ja Morant situation. But first off, though, let's get into what Ja Rule said when asked by TMZ. Just gonna play the audio. Just listen.
Situation with Ja Morant, okay? And I gotta ask, Patrick Beverly, an NBA player, he's beloved. We all love his grit, but he basically had something to say. He said that Ja Morant situation, Ja's just been influenced by gangster rap. And, he loves it. He's in Memphis, and that's the big scene out there. Is there any validity to that? Like that?
I'm sure there is. Hip hop is very influential.
Very.
I've done things in my youth because of hip hop. Redman made how to roll a blunt. We started smoking blunt. You know what I'm saying? Snoop made gin and juice. We started drinking gin and juice.
Told y'all that.
Hip hop is very influential. I'm not gonna say it's not. How far people take it is what it is. But the thing with Ja, I just hope he has better people around him and just let him know that ain't the way. There you go. You play ball, man. Do you, man? The streets ain't about nothing, man. Go grind on them, keep balling.
That's enough of that. That pretty much sums it up, his response. Like I say, it definitely started for Patrick Beverly. He's speaking out. I guess he was asked about it. So it's definitely just rolling over to a snowball effect to where it's asked if people does or did hip hop play a factor in the decisions that he made. And let's just break this down a little bit because it could be taken in so many different ways. Because on one hand, of course, hip hop do influence. It influenced behavior. I mean, not even just the sounds and the rhythms, but just the whole energy of just hip hop. I mean, even in our time, even back then, whether for good or bad, that's first off. Whether for good or bad, hip hop is going to influence. Even though hip hop is a mirror of the streets of what's going on, but the decisions that young man made. It comes to a point when you ask yourself, when you look at the youth, or when you look at people that do outlandish things for attention. I mean, you just ask yourself, like, is it a situation to where you just being forced to be hard? I actually wrote a poem about this too. I'm gonna definitely hit that poem today for this Poetry and Conversations episode. I'm definitely gonna hit that poem. But it's like, as you being, I mean, athletes, young black men, just anybody of any type of influence, people who are successful, are you forced to be hard? Are you forced to have an edge? Are you forced to show that you willing to risk it all because of your fame or your power? I mean, because let's be real, a lot of these things do parallel to a certain extent. I mean, fame and success, it do parallel with somewhat being an asshole or showing that you can get away with certain things or showing that you're above the law or showing that you're above just the average that other people can't do because your money talks and you're feeding people and you're doing things. When I say feeding people, I'm talking about because so many people are yes men around you to where they're not going to tell you to stop or don't do that because they want to see the extreme. I mean, all these things parallel with the whole image, whether it's legit or from the streets. I mean, because when you're successful, you're going to be somewhat attached to a bad boy image because, I mean, let's just face it, somewhere along the line, you took some risk to even be that successful. Because most people that are successful, they didn't took risks. That's a whole energy within itself that we can just we can go down that whole rabbit hole of just talking about how just being successful, the risks that you took or the things that you did, or not to mention college and things you might get away with because people knew that you was headed to success and didn't have to take certain tests or other people doing it for you or getting passed through certain classes because you're a success story. I mean, it's no secret that certain things can get blind-eyed and overlooked when you're successful. But this young man, when it comes to hip hop, and I mean, should we parallel that with hip hop? I mean, I'm asking this. I'm not just really directly saying that that's the answer or that's where it all stems from. And I would definitely love to know, so you can share in the comments if you feel that hip hop played a factor and is a factor with what this young man did or didn't do when it comes to this situation. I mean, it's the whole energy of being young and successful and pulling out a gun and the energy of music and being in the strip club, being around women, knowing that the whole booth taped off and tailored for you. I don't know who came up with the footage shit. If anything, I would have told the ass nigga, put them damn phones up. We in this bitch party. Don't pull out them phones. But that's the first mistake right there. I mean, when you got that money, that paper, shit, you know how that shit goes. Shit, certain parties, ain't no phones in here. That's how this going on. If you really live and partying like that and got that juice, and if you know it's about to go down like that, that would have been rule number one. No phones. So I'm not sure where the actual footage even came, because obviously the phone was right in his face because he's right there dancing it, and then he wanted it to be remembered, and he was caught up in the moment. He was in the moment, so his face was right there in front of somebody's camera. So somebody had a phone because just to have that type of footage and talking into the camera the same way I'm doing to you right now. He knew that camera was right there. So that's number one. But do this really, is the pressure of hip hop really that serious on these kids today? When I say kids, I mean just people that's mentally in that state of mind, because you can be grown and still be a kid. You do know that, right? You can be grown and still be stuck in a time to where you still thinking about high school and the energy of certain things, and you still just stuck in that moment, or college or whatever. I mean, but he's a young man and I get it. I mean, we all make mistakes. But is hip hop really a factor like that to where it get people emotionally driven to where they feel that that I gotta have that edge to me when I do what I do, that I gotta pull my gun out to try to scare people off, or again, like I say, to say that I'm ready to risk it all because I don't care. I want to live on the edge, and I'm knowing that I'm blessed enough to have this success, but I want to act like this type of energy just to play it out because I done synced it through hip hop, through the streets, through videos, video games, all types of just partying and instincts. Just, I mean, not to mention once you under the influence, how much you can feel that you're more empowered and you're more entitled because you got the money and you got the power and you belligerent and you buzzed and you're not thinking about consequences in that very moment. I mean, that's safe enough to say. He wasn't thinking about consequences in that moment. Now the question again is, do hip hop play a role in this to where people are influenced to live out these images? I mean, let's just face it though. I mean, let's even rewind it a little bit, because when we talk about hip hop, or when we talk about this living out images, because the real term I really want to use is rock and roll and rock star, and that's not even us. That's not even hip hop. That's, we know what the rock and roll, we know what the rock star life is. Even hip hop, when we call it rock star, when you being wild, you know, who was that one group? They was biting off birds and shit and all that stuff on stage, and y'all know how them folks party when they get off all what type of illicit drugs that they be on. You know how they be off the chain, off the wire. That's where the whole phase rock star come from just not giving a fuck. Period. They just off the chain, just just bonkers. I mean, that's where that whole energy come from. Rock star lifestyle. Even we say it. We party like them because they don't care at all. So it's like the whole energy of when they doing that, where's the where's the influence on other kids of other ethnicities that's watching them do all types of drugs and party with their shirt off, the wild hair bands, and screaming and running around, yelling and jumping in the crowds and passing out. But we coming full circle to blaming this young man off of hip hop, or thinking because he may have saw a couple videos, or may just be want to give off that energy that I'm living this lifestyle. It's still rock star, but it's black because, but it's hip hop because we black and because we in tune and from the streets. But it's still a dangerous lifestyle when you push into that edge like that. So the question I'm asking is, we being forced to that? Do these young men feel that if I gotta, well, I'm gonna say it because I actually see it now. Because it's like, say for instance, okay, I'm from Detroit, and I do notice this. It's like, even if you is legit or you getting money legit, you can peep the energy sometime, how people who might have a job or whatever, but they still try to move in a room as if, I mean, these are the successful ones. Basically, what I'm about to talk about is like the plant workers and stuff here in Detroit, or maybe in your town too, or wherever you live. But it's like an energy. It definitely used to be a lot. I mean, kind of now, as at a more mature age, it's cool. It always been cool to say that you had a plant job because people knew that they made more than average income. But it was a point in time here in Detroit, and maybe some other cities also, that people that did work at plants like Ford, GM, and Chrysler, you know what I'm saying, because they did have good jobs, but they'd be young, so they will go to the clubs and cause you gotta remember they dressing just like the D boys or whatever, so they will be moving as if they selling drugs or if they hard or if they from the streets, but we all knowing as you work out the plan or you this that which is cool and a blessing. Cause definitely back then it was a blessing just to catch a job at the plant, especially at a young age. You making 18, $20 an hour and you ain't nothing but 19 to 20 yourself. I mean, that's a blessing. I mean, that's still a blessing. But you know what I'm saying? But as they're moving these clubs, I just remember how they carry themselves as if they was in the streets, of some of them maybe wouldn't say where they work or whatever like that, try to keep it unknown. But if they work at the plant, they carrying themselves like, oh, I got guns, or I got a gun, or I'm in the streets, or this my song, this street songs. They got the Pelly on, they got the latest hour sign or whatever, all this stuff that the D boys got. But being that they got good jobs and they ain't got as many bills, maybe, or just can still sustain it, they still carrying themselves with the same energy as if they willing to risk it all just for that plant life. It was a whole different type of energy like that. So I guess how they bring it all full circle is if it's pressure for this young man to hang out and to live the lifestyle as if he's in a video, or if he's that type of athlete that want to carry on a bad boy image to a certain extent because he's caught up in the moment of hip hop. Not to mention they bring in the whole Memphis thing in it also. They're trying to bring that whole aura into it. What's going on down in Memphis with the music down there, and which is so much going on. I'm not from there, but it have been a lot of things attached to Memphis and a movement. It is kind of similar to Detroit, to be honest with you, because they got a whole movement down there of rappers. Then you had Young Dolph and, a lot of different artists that put Memphis on the map. And they got a whole underground scene that's flourishing just like Detroit right now. So I can kind of get it that it can just be a whole movie going on down there. And when you caught up and go to them clubs and shit like that, and you the man like that, it's like, I don't want to say you competing, but you the athlete. And when you going into them spots where all the D-boys at, and all the people who willing to risk it all, I mean, you putting yourself in a situation to where it's like you got to pick and choose, because you can get sucked up in that life by trying to, I'm gonna say, cater to these people. But when you going out after the game, it's a home game, and you going out hanging at the bar and the club in Memphis or whatever city that you play for, you amongst all the D-boys and the people of that city. So you're gonna be knowing each other or whatever, and you probably can get caught up in the lifestyle, especially being young like that. Shit, honestly, I remember being here in Detroit, going to certain clubs back in the days, and I'd just see different NBA players or football players at the bar, and they in there, they doing their thing. They in there, it's a home game, they in town, they got the day off, or they just play and it's over with. Shit, they want to go party. So if they in there popping bottles and going crazy, they still elite on their level because they athletes. But over here, it's still these people who getting money and don't care about none of what you doing or what you got going on. But y'all still in the same world, and I'm gonna say compete. Well, I would say compete. Y'all competing for the same bitches, same women, or whatever. And if they group it out, they picking and choosing, sleeping with some of the same women. Because although the city can be big, the people that got money, the city gonna be even smaller. So that's how that works. It can be as big as it want to be, but for the people that's getting money, you're gonna frequent some of the same spots and run into some of the same females. And the females is looking to get chose by some of the same people that got money, because you in these spots for a reason. You know where to happen to spot at, in whatever city you in watching this video right now, If you in tune, you know what'll happen in spot at. And them athletes feel the same way. So when they come there, you gotta let it be known, like, hey, shit, it's basically my city too. I'm here every day just like y'all. So Ja Morant, he's forced with a situation to where he has to compete on and off the court. And that can be pressure. Hip hop is pressure. It's just pressure as a black man, just period. Just some walk with that guard up, and some people just let they guard down. Then some just be themselves. It is what it is. Matter of fact, let me get into this piece and poem that I wrote called "Why Is They Forcing You to Be Hard?" I think this can coincide with what the whole conversation is today about Ja Morant. Listen to me. And it just goes for all the people. I mean, just brothers in general. Why is they forcing you to be hard? Listen to me. What's up with all this tough talk and selling fake images? See, you supposed to be a player in the game, but you on the sideline looking like you don't even know what a scrimmage is. You see, it's similar to practice. Like when you practice dodging real substance in your music and interviews. See, let's talk about the change and the growth. Cause see, I ain't influenced about them jail cells you done been into or what you finna do. Although I'm only gonna respect you for the last thing that you did. Cause see, I'm on my grown man now. Half the stuff y'all talking about shit, nigga, we done did as kids. Listen to me. Nigga, and it stayed there. Fool, I got bills to pay. Kids to raise, and the messages saying y'all fake ass tough guys is in my way. Shooting in crowds, talking loud just to get a little bit of attention. You see, it's some locked up forever off just one mistake that ain't never coming home, and you can be next, but you don't even think about the prevention. See, the invention of these ghettos and projects is a project. And now TV got you scared to go outside, and to our kids, we passing down this nonsense. Dumbing down our views to confuse our angle and focus. Seeing the white community is white on white crime, but they just want you to hate your own people. See, take a look around, haven't you noticed? Cause see, I'm just like you, my brother. So when you see me put down your guard, love yourself and I love you too. Now ask yourself the question. Why is they forcing you to be hard? Why is they forcing you to be hard? That's that piece. Rap talk. Snap, 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 snap. That's a real question. It's not just athletes. It's the rappers too. That's why I say that one line in the poem. I say, like when you practice dodging real substance in music in your interviews. Let's talk about the change and the growth. Cause saying influence about them jail cells you done been into. I mean, how many times you done just watch the interview of a rapper? It could be somebody you do know or don't even know, or somebody new to you. You ever notice like the first question they ask them is where they? I mean, don't get me wrong. You want some background. You want some roots. You want to know where a person came from. But you ever notice them first couple of questions? They always digging for how bad was your childhood or how bad was it growing up? Where were you from? It's like me if I get interviewed by such and such. More than likely, friend. Oh, like you growing up in Detroit? Oh, it was pretty bad in Detroit. How was it growing up in Detroit for you? Yeah, Detroit is real dangerous. They want details. They want to hear that grunt. They want to hear that. Come on, make it dark for me. Come on, make it dark. I mean, tell us how bad Detroit is. Tell us. That's what they want. Oh, you grew up in Cleveland? Oh, how is it? You grew up in a one-parent home? Come on, tell us. Come on, man. We need that bullshit. Make it dark for us. Make us, come on, we want that struggle. We want it. We made it out. Some of us made it out. Some of us made it better. I mean, don't get me wrong. God give you a situation. We're going to give you something to relate to. But how dark you want it to be. You know, don't make us always live in the past all the time. When you interview these people, because sometimes when you on a success road, don't get me wrong, you never forget where you came from. But how many times you want to make us relatable with shit that some that been shot at, or they've been shot, or been to the penitentiary, all types of things. How many times you want to make us relive those things? Maybe one's mind is on a whole nother mental plane to move on and talk about the latest ventures of how he can walk in the room and make a success story out of talking to people and building a franchise. Let's speed it up to that. So it comes to the point where they are forcing you to be hard. But why? Why do we have these TV shows on every day, got us living in the past? All these different drug stories and all this, all of this whole energy of just living in the past, and some of these people thinking they can do it over. and as again, I said this in the other video, and technology is not the same, and things ain't the same, and everything moving different. But it's still people that want to hear these stories and be infatuated with the bad guy over and over and over again. And you stuck mentally thinking like, okay, well, you can't even escape your own world, but you keep want to watch these people relive their pain and suffer, and hoping that you living within what they did 20 and 10 years ago. That is helping you conquer something because you watching somebody else flourish. I mean, just think about that type of energy, though. Think about that. Think about what you do. You sit and watch other people's stories from years ago just to try to put yourself in the equation of what you would do or won't do, which some can be fact and fiction, but it's still upon you still caught up in the illusion, the imagination of just the whether you say it or not, you caught up in the whole energy of hoping the bad guy just still flourish and win and ride off in the sunset. You might not want to say it, but deep down, you hoping the bad guy just flourish and walk off successful. I mean, that's what we do. I'm guilty of it too. We in the movie, root for the bad guy, eating popcorn, whatever. Even though we know how the story ends. But that's what we do. That's where they want your energy at. They want your energy to be stuck in the past of just things that has been. Whether the person got punished for it or not, they still gonna keep recurring these same situations and scenarios over and over. Give me some more bullshit. Feed me some more stories. Feed me some more energy. We watch these stories on the news and go straight to the next. And the conversation most people don't want to have is that some people's psyche is when they hear some of these stories, they want to do something even worse than what they just heard on TV. A lot of people don't want to talk about that though. Oh, such and such got that much attention for doing that and going up in that church. It's a little kid over here who want just even more attention when he pull off his stunt and do whatever he do at that nightclub. He want that same attention, that same energy. We ain't gonna talk about that though. But this young Ja Morant, we want him to be on the right path. We want him to get on the right path. Whether it was just a mistake or he was just under influence, not however it played out. What's done is done. Of course, it's gonna be related to hip hop. It's looking like that's gonna go on for years. It always did. Blame it on hip hop. All that's failed. I mean, it used to always be blaming on the single parent home. Now it's always blaming on hip hop. Blame it on the energy of what's going on. Years from now, we're gonna blame everything on the internet. It's always something to point the finger at. But we have to look within, though. It is what it is. If you want some bullshit, you want some bullshit. But I'm gonna wrap it up, though. I thank y'all for tuning in. Poetry and conversations. Feel free to, you make it to the end of the video like you did. I definitely appreciate you for making it to the end of the video. Go on and flick this video, share it with somebody, text it to somebody, start up a conversation. Poetry and conversations. Get with y'all in a minute. Rap talk.